So boutique style carbon steel pans are becoming more and more popular, especially handmade in the US. But are they worth the money? Should you pay a premium for a pan that looks like this? Hi, I'm Jed. This is Cook Culture. So boutique style premium carbon steel pans. They're becoming more and more available, which is wonderful. A few years ago, to get something really boutique style was almost hard to get. Now they're becoming a lot more commonplace in different places around North America, in America specifically. And I'm personally in love with what they're doing, but they're all come at a premium. They're not inexpensive pans when you compare them to something that you can just go in and buy off the shelf in a regular retail store in a carbon steel of a really high quality, made in Europe, even made in America. But these guys have a very unique story behind them, every single brand that's out there. And I've just got one brand here in my hand, and there are several throughout North America. But let's investigate this guy. Let's give it a try. Let's test it for a while and see, is a carbon steel boutique style pan worth your extra dollars? Okay, so first up, what do we got here? So today I'm using the Copper State Forge 10-inch carbon steel, and they're 10-inch six-sided carbon steel, which is a really, really cool looking pan, and what they tell me is the most popular. So the reason I've got these two in my hand is that this really cool guy, Tristan, reached out to me, who owns Copper State Forge with his dad, and he sent me these two pans. So he gave them to me to try. I have no problem taking free gear from people when I know that I'm going to like it. Like how these are going to compare to where we're going to talk about how they fit in if somebody's going to buy them is an interesting conversation, but I'm not going to take something from somebody and be like, oh yeah, that sucks, I don't like it, and give them a negative review on it. So if somebody is like, hey, here's some things, can you check it out on the channel, and he definitely has no strings attached, I'm totally fine with that. So you'll hear different YouTubers saying, hey, I paid for this with my own money so I can be completely unbiased. I'm already biased. I love carbon steel. I got no problem with telling you that. Carbon steel is wonderful. How does this carbon steel fit compared to the other carbon steel? That's the question, and that I have no problem being clear on. I know this is gonna be wonderful. I know for some users it would be perfect. For some users it's not so perfect. Let's just discuss that today. So a little bit about Copper State Forge. So Tristan sent me this handwritten 2-page notes. Like, who really does this anymore? Tristan, thanks so much for that. It's fantastic. Telling me all about his family business and how they stumbled into making carbon steel with his dad. Of course they had experience previously, but making cookware was not their original goal. How they started selling at farmers markets. They became successful listening to their customers at farmers markets and adapting their design. And that's where they came up with this really cool six-sided design. They had originally made it to be sharp on 8 different sides, but they've made this kind of way to flip and to use it as a hand pan instead of it being a stationary pan. He tells me that it works very similarly if they got the different shapes all the way around it, but this rounded is what he says people really like. And I can see that. It's a really cool, unique pan. So I'm really looking forward to using this. I have not used these yet. But coming out of the box, I'm going to do a close-up for you right here. So coming out of the box, these pans, you can see that they have been really cared for as they're being made. And the handles have a very unique, beautiful hand-finished shape to them. Very cool how they have the little piece of copper stamped into the handle. That is very, very nice. Very simple riveting, nice low profile. They do a very nice seasoning from their workshop, which is beautiful. I really enjoy this. So I don't know if a lot of people know, but I actually went down the road. This pan here was a pan in which I was having made for us here locally on Vancouver Island. And we really pushed to try to do something here, and it became price prohibitive. It's not an easy thing to just make your own cookware. So we tried and pushed and shoved and came up against some price barriers. So when these guys are asking a premium for these pans that you'll find from many different makers throughout North America, but they're all really of the same sort of caliber of what I'm seeing. They're not inexpensive, but I can tell you firsthand, I've seen what goes into making these, and the effort and the energy and the sweat, blood, and tears that really truly is put into making these pans. It's pretty intense. So you are getting a piece of art. You know, where you take something like a Matfer or a Dubois that is a wonderful pan, as everybody on this channel knows, I love. They are mass produced. Stamp, 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 stamp. Out they go in mass volume, right? And that's what they are. They serve a purpose. They're fantastic. They're the Volkswagen Beetle of carbon steel pans. They're great. These guys, you know, does the cooking experience justify the dollars? Probably not completely. No, I don't know if I can stand behind that. But does the design and the way in which they look and the story behind each one of these unique handcrafted, North American handcrafted pieces, yeah, you're getting to that point where you're buying a pretty darn cool story. You know, this is fresh out of the box, so we're gonna try this right now, kind of first few cooks on it. I'm then gonna take this home and use this extensively as my main pan for at least a month, and then we'll come back and I give you, you know, a good use experience to it and be able to give you clarity on, you know, do I really love this pan or do I think it's just a great pan? So here we go. Okay, so here we are, first time use of this beautiful new pan. So I've got it preheating on a 6 there. First time I've used this guy. So I've got a decent amount of oil on, but not too much, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to start with putting on some tofu. And I like to cook tofu, A, because I like tofu, and B, it has very little fat in it. So when I cook tofu, if something's going to stick, tofu's going to stick. Something that I'm going to cook with quite a bit of saturated fat. So there we go. See, right away we get a little bit of sticking. Even though that pan was nicely preheated, it wasn't heating anymore. Tofu, I find, is going to be a culprit. So it's a nice tester. This pan is brand new. I don't expect it to be completely non-stick on its first go. I haven't used too much oil. But what we're going to do is just cook it away here on a 6 and try it out. This is a little bit of a lighter weight gauge. I'll do the measurements here in a little bit, but it's a lighter weight gauge compared to something like a Matfer or a Mineral B. It's really comfortable in the hand. Like that guy feels great. Nice balance, not too heavy weighted. You know, it's not lightweight by any means, but it's got a nice balance. I'm happy with it. So I'm just gonna let that cook away and see what kind of results we get. All right, so we're starting to get some nice browning in there, which just gives you a nice texture. So that's pretty much done to me. I'm gonna get that onto a bed of greens and make a salad from that. But the next thing I'm gonna cook up here, I wanna do some reduction. So I'm going to cook some mushrooms and onions to reduce that I'm gonna put into a tomato sauce. So that's coming up next. Okay, so the mushrooms and onions turned out beautifully, as expected. Nothing blew me away here. These pans have cooked exactly as I expect a really beautiful carbon steel pan would cook. So I'm very happy using them, but now it's time to get acquainted with them. I'm gonna take them home and use them for several weeks, maybe up to a month, and really put them through the ringer, see if I can find any weaknesses with them, and just see, you know, how do I like using these pans day in and day out? And then I'll come back and let you know, like, you know, is a high-end boutique pan worth your time? Okay, boom, just like that. 3.5 weeks goes by. So I've had lots of time to use what I am calling the shovel pan. I've enjoyed the performance. I've also been using the 10-inch round here in the studio. Not as much, but I've been using it quite a lot and I really, really enjoy it. But what I'm loving is the overall fit and finish of this pan. So I usually heavily advocate for heavier is better. This is a lighter weight pan than the same equivalent in Dubai or a mat fur, but I am loving everything to do with it, the entire package, specifically the way the handle is and the hand finishing of the pan. It is a delicate, decadent pan. I really enjoy it. It not delicate as it's gonna break, just the finishing to it. It feels like a high-end pan. So I'm very much won over with this pan, and I am in love. I think it's fantastic. I have really enjoyed the other makers that I've had my hands on too. I think they're finished the same way. So this is not unique to Copper State Forge. I'm just saying that I think buying a exquisite boutique style handmade carbon steel pan is of value to somebody like myself that really loves cast iron and carbon steel. This is a workhorse. This will do amazing things, but it is very much a plain daily driver. This is an exquisite, beautiful piece that I have a lot of pride in when I keep it on my stovetop. So I'm won over. So wanted to do one quick last test here just to kind of show you the performance based against something like Dubai. I'm gonna fry an egg on a kind of a medium high and put these guys side by side and just show you the results there. Here we go. Okay, so I got these two pans nicely preheated at a 6, so that is just above a medium. And I am using a old but reconditioned Dubai pan, and I'm using this, what I call the shovel pan. Probably shouldn't be calling it the shovel pan, but I like the name of it. And so one is 1 pound heavier. So this is a pound heavier than this pound. And I'm gonna get those guys on there. All right, so eggs are on and cooking. And now we're gonna fast forward this a little bit while these guys cook through. Okay, so these have been like, a minute and a half or so. All right, so broke it a little bit there. A little bit sticking of there, just kind of thin egg. Okay, take that little piece off right there. Take that on off. Okay, everything's going over, I guess. I was gonna break that off, but didn't wanna come off. So anyways, nice browning. Things are cooking beautifully, very similar. So like I said, this is a pound lighter than this pan. Where the difference would be here is if I had the heat cranked even more, this pan would be less or easier to cook than this one. This one's gonna start to burn. And so at this medium to medium high, this is a nice even temperature for both of these pans. This is working really, really well for both. So get that little piece of junk out of there. Okay, so that guy. That guy. Okay, so that's turned out beautifully. That pan, well, both of them are working beautifully well. So the non-stickability is fantastic in both. Okay, so there you go. You saw, the egg test worked incredibly well. You've got a handmade boutique pan from Arizona. You've got a stamped pan from France that is considered to be one of the best quality carbon steel pans in the world. And, the cooking was identical. This pan is doing exactly as I would expect from a high quality piece of carbon steel. And as I've said, the way in which I've fallen in love with the design details of this pan, it is a really, really wonderful pan to use, to hold, to have. It's beautiful to look at, it's comfortable to use, the pan performs incredibly well. So I am sold. I think what these guys are doing is fantastic. I think what the entire industry is doing in the boutique style is fantastic. As I've mentioned, there are other makers around North America. These guys are one of, not a lot, but a few that I think are doing really high-end, beautiful work. And I advocate, from my experience, go buy, either a Copper State, because I think Copper State are killing it, but take a look at some of the other makers too, you know, something that may speak to you differently. And I've put some links below in this video to some of the other makers also, so you can kind of get a sense of what the marketplace is. Because as I said, I'm heavily biased, but I'm not here just trying to sell you Copper State. I think they're doing a killer job, and I think you would be extraordinarily happy with one of these from my experience, but there are other makers out there. So, you know, one handle or one detail for whatever reason may speak to you differently. But if you do ever want to talk to Tristan and his dad, Bill, reach out to Copper State. You know, they're there. If you're in Arizona, go see them. They have an open workshop. They want to see you. They're absolutely killing it. These guys are awesome. I think they're being very proactive in reaching out, the way they reached out to me to promote their cookware. Here I am making a video and promoting them because genuinely, I think they are doing an excellent job. I want to see them do more because I want this space filled. The more that we're doing this sort of thing and creating amazing quality cookware in the market and other people are telling other people, the less crap cookware, coated cookware, will be sold, hopefully. You know, and people that are doing this sort of work and filling and growing, I can't get behind them more. I'm so excited by this small niche market that hopefully will grow and grow and grow. So if you support them, this will grow. So please think about, you know, this sort of pan and consider looking at either Copper State or some of the other companies in which are out there doing amazing work. So I've kind of talked at exhaustion about this pan and the way in which it works. Don't think I can show you any more details, but I have been really excited about these guys. And so I reached out to them and said, hey, let's do a video about you guys. So we're gonna have a Meet the Maker video coming up next. That'll be my next video that I'll produce in a week from now. And it'll be about meeting Tristan and Bill and talking to them about how they make their amazing pans and seeing some of their process, which is really exciting because it's gorgeous to watch them make this piece of art. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them below. Thanks so much.